Alexander the Great. The name alone conjures up images of epic battles and daring conquests. His legacy is one of the most fascinating in the annals of history. This Macedonian king, who conquered most of the known world by the age of 30, wasn't just a lucky general. He was a military genius. His campaigns stretched from Greece to Egypt and into the heart of Persia, creating an empire that spanned 3 continents. Alexander's tactics were revolutionary for his time, and his victories, like the one at Gaugamela in 331 BC, still make military strategists today say, wow. His ability to adapt and innovate on the battlefield was unparalleled. Alexander inherited a powerful army from his father, Philip II, but he took it to a whole new level. Philip had already reformed the Macedonian army, but Alexander's vision and leadership transformed it into an unstoppable force. He combined different fighting units and tactics in ways no one had ever seen before. His use of combined arms, integrating infantry, cavalry, and siege weapons, allowed him to outmaneuver and outfight much larger armies. He was like the conductor of a deadly orchestra, and his enemies? Well, they were the unfortunate souls who had to dance to his tune. His ability to coordinate complex maneuvers in the heat of battle was nothing short of extraordinary. Think ancient warfare was all about brute force? Think again. Alexander's campaigns were a masterclass in strategy and tactics. Alexander was a master strategist. He meticulously planned his campaigns, often spending months gathering intelligence and preparing his forces before launching an attack. He knew that brains were just as important as brawn, maybe even more so. His ability to think several steps ahead of his enemies gave him a decisive edge. He planned his moves carefully, always looking for ways to outsmart and outmaneuver his opponents. His use of terrain, deception, and psychological warfare were key components of his success. Alexander's tactics weren't just about winning battles. They were about conquering empires. He understood the importance of logistics, supply lines, and maintaining the morale of his troops. He understood that true victory meant more than just defeating an army on the battlefield. It meant securing the loyalty of conquered peoples, integrating them into his empire, and ensuring a stable and prosperous rule. It meant breaking the enemy's will to fight, securing their resources, and leaving a lasting impact on the world. His ability to inspire loyalty and respect among his troops and subjects was a testament to his leadership. And boy, did he leave an impact. Alexander's conquests reshaped the ancient world, spreading Greek culture and ideas far and wide, and laying the foundations for the Hellenistic period. Imagine a wall of shields and spears advancing relentlessly towards you. No, it's not a nightmare. It's the Macedonian Phalanx, Alexander the Great's secret weapon. This military formation was the backbone of Alexander's army and a key to his many victories. The phalanx consisted of heavily armed infantrymen called pejateroi, which basically translates to foot companions. Don't let the friendly name fool you though. These guys were tough. Each soldier carried a sarissa, a spear so long it would make even the tallest basketball player jealous. The phalanx operated on the principle of strength in numbers. The soldiers stood shoulder to shoulder, their shields interlocked, forming an impenetrable wall of bronze and wood. The front ranks lowered their sarissas, creating a deadly forest of spear points aimed at the enemy. Talk about a buzzkill. This formation was incredibly effective in close combat, especially against less disciplined armies. The sight of this bristling wall of spears advancing steadily was often enough to make the enemy break ranks and run for the hills. And let's face it, who can blame them? Would you want to go up against that? I didn't think so. Alexander the Great wasn't just a fan of foot soldiers with pointy sticks. Oh no, he also knew how to use horsepower. His cavalry, composed of elite horsemen, was another deadly weapon in his arsenal. These guys were the Ferraris of the ancient battlefield, fast, agile, and capable of delivering a devastating blow. Alexander's cavalry was mainly used for offensive maneuvers. Think of them as the hammer to the phalanx's anvil. While the phalanx pinned the enemy down, Alexander would unleash his cavalry at the perfect moment, often aiming for the flanks or rear of the enemy formation. The impact of a cavalry charge was nothing short of terrifying. Imagine hundreds of pounds of horse and rider slamming into enemy lines at full gallop. It's no wonder that Alexander's cavalry often turned the tide of battle in his favor. They were like a force of nature, sweeping aside all opposition. Alexander's cavalry wasn't just about brute force, though. He trained his horsemen to operate with incredible precision and coordination. They could wheel and maneuver in tight formations, striking at the enemy's weak points with deadly accuracy. It was like watching a well-choreographed dance, except with a lot more blood and guts. Alexander's strategic genius lay in his ability to integrate his cavalry with his infantry seamlessly. He would often use his infantry to engage and hold the enemy in place, creating the perfect opportunity for his cavalry to strike. His leadership and innovative tactics made his cavalry not just a support unit, but a decisive force in battle. Training was rigorous, ensuring that both horse and rider could handle the toughest of terrains and the most chaotic of battlefields. This level of preparation and discipline meant that Alexander's cavalry could execute complex maneuvers with ease. Whether it was charging through forests, crossing rivers, or navigating rocky terrain, they were always ready. The synergy between his cavalry and infantry was a key factor in many of his victories. This combination of speed, power, and strategic brilliance made Alexander's cavalry a legendary force in ancient warfare. They were not just soldiers on horseback. They were the embodiment of Alexander's vision and military prowess. And their legacy of dominance and innovation in cavalry tactics continues to be studied and admired to this day. Section 4. Need for speed. Outmaneuvering the enemy with lightning strikes. In the game of war, speed kills. The ability to move quickly and decisively can mean the difference between victory and defeat. And nobody understood this better than Alexander the Great. His strategic brilliance was matched only by his understanding of the importance of speed. He was notorious for his lightning-fast marches, often covering vast distances in surprisingly short amounts of time. This relentless pace was a key element of his military success. This allowed him to catch his enemies off guard, striking before they even knew what hit them. Surprise was his ally, and speed was his weapon. While most armies of the time lumbered along like a tortoise on vacation, burdened by heavy equipment and slow-moving supply trains, Alexander's troops moved with the speed and agility of a cheetah on an energy drink. They were always ready to strike, always on the move. This was partly due to his army's composition. Alexander's forces were a well-oiled machine, designed for speed and efficiency. Unlike his opponents, who often relied on slow-moving baggage trains, Alexander traveled light. His soldiers carried only what was necessary, allowing them to move quickly and strike hard. He understood that speed was a weapon in itself, and that a swift victory was often the most decisive. The faster you can defeat your enemy, the less time they have to regroup and counterattack. This emphasis on speed and mobility allowed Alexander to dictate the pace and location of battles. He was always one step ahead, always in control. He could choose when and where to fight, giving him a significant strategic advantage. His enemies were often left scrambling to react to his moves, forcing his enemies to react to his moves instead of the other way around. This constant pressure kept his opponents off balance and unable to mount an effective defense. It was like playing chess while your opponent is stuck playing checkers. Alexander's strategic depth and speed were unmatched. Alexander's rapid marches weren't just about speed, though. They were also a testament to his logistical genius. He knew that an army marches on its stomach. Supplying an army on the move was no easy feat, especially in ancient times. The challenges were immense, but Alexander's logistical planning was impeccable. He managed to keep his troops fed, watered, and equipped even during long and arduous campaigns. His supply lines were efficient and well protected, but Alexander managed to keep his troops fed, watered, and equipped even during long and arduous campaigns. His ability to maintain supply lines in harsh conditions was a testament to his leadership. He was like the ultimate multitasker, conquering empires while simultaneously running a mobile 5-star restaurant for his army. His men were always ready for battle, well-fed and well-equipped, thanks to his meticulous planning and execution. Section 5. Know thy enemy, spying and scouting for strategic advantage. Keep your friends close and your enemies closer. Alexander the Great might not have coined this famous phrase, but he definitely lived by it. He understood that knowledge is power, especially in warfare. That's why he placed a high value on intelligence gathering, using spies and scouts to gain a crucial edge over his adversaries. Alexander's spies were his eyes and ears in enemy territory. They gathered information on enemy troop movements, fortifications, and morale. This allowed Alexander to anticipate his opponent's actions, exploit their weaknesses, and plan his attacks with deadly precision. Scouting played an equally important role in Alexander's military successes. His scouts were tasked with reconnoitering the battlefield, identifying potential ambush points, and assessing the terrain. This information allowed Alexander to choose favorable battlegrounds and deploy his troops effectively. Alexander's enemies often underestimated his intelligence network to their detriment. They would march blindly into traps, only to find themselves surrounded and outmaneuvered. It was like walking into a surprise party, except instead of cake and balloons, there were swords and spears, and trust me, nobody wants that kind of surprise.